Welcome to this Quantum Security and Defense presentation, Pathway 2035 for Financial Innovation. And thank you for being a valued member of our community.
Eva Selamlaw Leuthold is the head of the Swiss Financial Innovation Desk, an independent unit within Switzerland's Federal Department of Finance that acts as a central public hub for all financial innovation matters to strengthen the Swiss financial sector in the long run. Find reports to a steering board comprising senior management representatives of the State Secretariat for International Finance, General Secretariat of the Federal Department of Finance, Swiss National Bank, Swiss Financial Market Authority, and Innosuisse, the Swiss Innovation Agency. Eva previously held executive positions with global companies in traditional and new finance. She specialises in build and change projects and champions disruptive and fresh ideas. She founded Peppermintas, a private initiative to inspire girls for STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and was voted top 10 women in tech to follow in Switzerland by Women in Tech Switzerland in 2024. She is admitted to the New York and Zurich bar.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me and can you see the slides?
I can hear you and I see your slides.
Very good. Thank you so much for this kind introduction. What an honor to have been invited, and what an honor to speak to this audience. Not sure how familiar you are with the Swiss financial ecosystem or the Swiss Financial Innovation Desk. That's why I thought I give you a quick update on who we actually are and what we do. And then I will do a deep dive into the Pathway 2035 for financial innovation. So what is this Swiss Financial Innovation Desk and what do we do? You have to know that 3 years ago, the Federal Council in Switzerland has issued a report called the Digital Finance Report with 12 areas of action. And one area of action was that the potential for innovation just did not seem to be fully harvested. And the potential that we do have in Switzerland could be further developed and used for strengthening the Swiss financial sector in the long term. So this is why the Federal Council decided to start a pilot project, this Swiss Financial Innovation Desk, to really connect and to facilitate and to also listen very closely to what's going on in the market, to function a bit as a trend radar, and to make sure that the Swiss financial sector is fit for the future. I usually bring the elevator pitch that we concierge financial innovation. So imagine the Swiss financial ecosystem as this grand hotel, this luxury hotel, 5-star hotel called Place Financière Suisse. And we are here as your trusted and very competent concierge desk. We connect, we find answers, and if we don't know the answer, we at least know whom to call. So we do community building, we analyze framework conditions, and then also formulate behind the desk some recommendations as to how to improve those framework conditions, and doing good things, but also talk about them. This obviously then also helps to position Switzerland in the global landscape of financial innovation and digital finance. So just a very short, the value proposition, I start from the right-hand side. It's this community building, this having a dialogue with the ecosystem, building bridges, then listening closely to if something is not going well. So, taking again the hotel analogy, if the soup is being served cold, and we hear about it, well, we then better, take the phone and call the chef. And make sure that this does not happen again. All right, so let's now go to the Pathway 2035 for financial innovation. Because we realized last year that even though there are those vision papers, like the Digital Finance Report that I just mentioned, that the industry lacks a bit of guidance in terms of okay, what is now though really, what is really going on? What is really important? What is on a meta perspective? What are the key emerging trend technologies that are important for us as an ecosystem? And so we together with the ecosystem, because that is very important to us, right, that we have this collaborative approach. We worked on this pathway documentation. It got then published in January, and we together with academia, together with the financial industry, with NGOs, with other authority representatives, we focused on 4 topics. I will come to that in a minute. And the resonance after we published the report was overwhelming. We would have never imagined that, but even the World Economic Forum took it up in its blog, and it was downloaded, it was viewed, and so seemingly we really kind of like had the right instinct to go for this navigator. So what did we do? Very shortly, we discussed those 4 topics: digital assets, digital trust, AI, and this, I think, is the reason why I was invited, quantum safe, in Singapore with a group of thought leaders, Swiss and also international thought leaders. We had thesis statements, we discussed, we debated. We then again went home, we did further research, and then this led to this report in January. So the 4 key themes I already mentioned, I will not today, for time purposes, have the luxury to also go into AI, digital assets, digital trust, but we're really focused on the quantum safe part, even though very important, and that was one of the key takeaways in Singapore, but also ever since, that I think by combining those technologies, right, that then really the music starts playing. So if you think about the high energy costs of AI, right, quantum computing has an answer to that. So I think really when combining these technologies, then it starts to get very interesting. So the quantum safe technologies part really, and may not be, you know, as you're all experts more than I am, may not surprise you, but was for us a steep learning curve. So we, together with the ecosystem, right, we realized, and this is now what you can read up in the report, is this is real, right? It's not a question of if, but a question of when the financial sector is at a material risk that asymmetric encryption is at risk. And so there we also had to learn that it's really a matter of separation between the asymmetric and the other encryptions, and particularly at risk are the asymmetric encryption methods such as RCA or ECC, and which are widely used for secure communication today, which in the financial system or the financial sector obviously is a huge topic. We don't want our financial data, which belongs to the most trusted and confidential and sensitive data that we have. We don't want them to be out there in the open, right? And we also learned and put that in the report that those harvest now, decrypt later strategies, they were all already ongoing. We then later on did a deep dive together with IBM. You may know that the IBM has a research lab in Zurich, which was its first research lab ever outside the US, and it's there since the 40s even. Produced 2 Nobel Prize winners. There we learned more about the standards, and also learned that the IBM actually was from the IBM lab in York and Zurich that they produced, or that they contributed with several PQC standards to the NIST standards, and I will get to that in a second. So our report was basically really aiming at creating this awareness, and also creating and highlighting this urgency for the financial institutions to take proactive steps and align with global standards in post-quantum cryptography. While quantum key distribution is also obviously a very intriguing and fascinating technology, it is less widely endorsed as a risk mitigation measure than the PQC standards. So in our then later report, which we published a few weeks ago, called Action Plan to a Quantum Safe Financial Future, we listed also the NIST standards that have been already endorsed and selected. I will not go into them in details, but clearly someone, a huge fan of Star Trek, was probably involved here. If you look at those names like Falcon or Sphinx or Kyber. All right, so next slide is on the action plan, and you may even ask, okay, why is that needed, right? So again, the Swiss ecosystem is a bit special. We believe in principle-based regulation, so we believe in not prescribing with 900 pages of laws and regulations of what financial institutions have to do, but we believe that technology moves so fast that with the principle-based approach, this is the best way to really approach risks, especially also technological risks. So also the supervisory authority in Switzerland, called FINMA, expects its supervised entities to really proactively be on top of all risks, including the technological risks and the risk arising out of cybersecurity and cyber attacks. However, by talking to the industry over the last 18 months, we realized that there still might be some non-binding guidance needed, especially also for smaller financial institutions. And so this led to this 7-step action plan. And I will just quickly go through that. The first step is really put quantum safety on the agenda, because that is the first step. You need to also, within the institution, you need to create that awareness that it is not a distant future and some hypotheses, but it's really a real risk. And as I said before, may materialize as soon as 2028, okay, based on latest research. Second, really make an assessment of, your software, your hardware, your IT components. So some of them might be more at risk, some may be less at risk, and so create a risk map. Third, when you procure, don't create any more legacy systems. So be smart and procure in a smart way, right? So procure in a way that you are already quantum fit. Fourth, address those immediate harvest now, decrypt later risks by really applying a state-of-the-art process when it comes to risk mitigation. Then start drafting and coming up with a migration plan. So how can you become crypto agile? And then there's, in that respect, there is a lot going on. Again, also from NIST, they just invited a few weeks ago to a public workshop on crypto agility. So just engage with your ecosystem, engage with the regulator, engage with the standard setters such as NIST, and make sure that you are on top of the developments. So that was number 6. And the last step, really continue and review and adopt. So this is an evolving process. You're not just done in a few months. But this, you really have to keep up to date and make sure that your security strategy is intact. All right. So what's next on our pathway 2035, which has just begun, right? What is waiting for us in the next 10 years? We will, not just on quantum safe, but also on AI, digital trust, digital assets, and potentially also further topics. Do deep dives. We have done one on smart finance. So when it comes to APIs, open finance, combined with AI. And we would love to do the next milestone or next update at SIBOS in Frankfurt. SIBOS, as you may know, is the largest conference for banking executives. Over 10,000 executives meeting in Frankfurt in end of September, or then also in Singapore at the Singapore FinTech Festival. But that is just in planning, and nothing has been confirmed yet. And if you are interested to learn more and to stay informed, you're obviously very welcome to get in touch with me over LinkedIn, to subscribe to our newsletter, or just contact us via this email that I put here on the slide. I think looking at the time, I will now stop and hope that there are also some questions.
Thank you so much, Eva. It was great. Okay, here I have no doubts, so I'm going to start with that question from Vasily. Eva, could you be more specific on the point 6 on the Swiss action plan, please? There is no regulatory guidance on quantum for banks, only the cryptographic standards.
So point 6, collaborate with industry and regulatory bodies. Do you mean this on page slide 18?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, yes. So we have come up with an ecosystem map, right, where we map, all the in our view, the key stakeholders in the Swiss financial ecosystem. So starting from the authorities, but then also moving on to associations, to public-private partnerships that exist. There's also the AI initiative, the quantum initiative. And if you are interested in learning more about the ecosystem, I'm happy to send over that additional slide, because right now I think it probably takes me too long to share it here on my screen. But yeah, so there is an ecosystem that we have mapped, and for example, it's called FSCSC. This is an association, and it's pretty much run by the Swiss Banking Association, but also the authorities support it, so like FINMA or the State Secretariat for International Finance, and the main banks are involved. So there they also look very closely into the newest and latest developments, and inform their members on what's going on. I hope this answered your question. But like, there's no prescription, right? There is no body in Switzerland that says, at least not at the moment, you bank or you insurance carrier or you asset manager, you need to do X, Y, and Z, right? So this is why those public-private partnerships are also very important, because they can, by this constant dialogue between the industry and the regulators and standard setters, they can see, okay, what makes sense. So that not every institution has to do that homework by itself, which would be extremely inefficient from a cost and resource perspective.
Thank you, Eva. There is a question about Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin core infrastructure is at significant risk, and Web3 being primarily public key. Is there a plan for registration for digital assets to be secure prior to being traded in Switzerland?
Sorry, acoustically you broke off just for a second. Can you just repeat?
Yes, so the Bitcoin core infrastructure is at the significant risk, and Web3 is being primarily public keys. Is there a plan for registration for digital assets to be secure prior to being traded in Switzerland?
I am not aware of such a plan. I think that would have to be asked for example, the governance with respect to each chain, right? What I hear, right, that depending on the chain, and so I don't want to particularly now go into Bitcoin, but depending on the chain, that it's not as bad as you now may think, and that especially the on-ramp and the off-ramp, that those points are at risk. But I'm not that an expert in those specific questions, but I would, if anyone from the audience has more information, just put the information in the chat. Very curious myself, but I'm not aware of such a registration plan.
Thank you. There were also questions if you follow all the NIST and PQC planning and the migrations timelines of European Union?
Well, we are a very small team, right? So we are 3 full-time equivalents, and we are not even fully staffed at the moment. So as much as I would like to follow, and I would like to say, yes, we do follow, it's just a matter of resources. And so we have now published this action plan, and for the time being, we will again in Q3 take this out again and make sure, or check what has happened since. But it's not a continuous development. We just simply do not have the resources. But again, obviously, whenever I hear and see something when it comes to the EU or NIST or other developments, I'm very curious, and I have my ears are wide open. But it's not that we have implemented a constant, continuous, very systematic radar, if you so will. So it's more like, okay, next time in Q3 or Q4, we want to do an update. Now, okay, then we go deep, and we find out by ad hoc research what has happened.
Yes, I also have a question, because you touched a lot on that risk. So that's a question from me, because Thomas was talking also about assessing risk, how dangerous it could be. Like, can you maybe give us an insights, taking your position, right, and interaction with the whole ecosystem in the finance in Switzerland? What is the mood around risk assessment, around the quantum? Because I think that is your unique perspective also, that what you're hearing is, where is it at the stage that everyone would like to implement it, but they don't know how, or they still have to be convinced? How you assess the mood around quantum
I love
risk?
the question. I absolutely love that question, because I think it goes to the very core, right? If you know the Eisenhower matrix, right? What is important, what is urgent, and then you have those 4 quadrants. Quantum computing, quantum attack. People start realizing, oh yeah, it's a thing, yeah, and it's important, but not everyone is there yet. So this is a process, and others don't think it's a priority yet, right? Because yeah, it's the distant future. And I think so. Obviously, I can't speak for the whole ecosystem, and I think the bigger players, obviously, they are very, very well aware, and they are already working on that since a long time ago. But especially, I think, also smaller players, I think it's just not yet on the top of their priority list. This is my very subjective assessment, just by talking to the industry. When we did this field trip to the IBM research lab that I mentioned earlier, we invited executives from the industry, board members, and the interest was very high, but also I got the feeling there was a big learning curve, right? So after that trip, everyone kind of like looked at each other like, okay, this is real. We really need to get we need to get moving a bit faster. So I think yeah, I think that is the question, right? I mean, depending on the institution, already high on the agenda list. Others, maybe not yet.
Thank you for watching this presentation, and thank you for being a valued member of our community.